Hello and welcome to the FPL Hangover podcast, pint-sized edition. Something a little new again from us this week, folks. We're going to be taking a slightly more focused look on some facts and figures that Game Week 1 has thrown up at us. Not to fret, this is not going to affect our regular episodes. You can go back and check out our Game Week 2 preview. I'm sure that's in the episode list just before this one. So no panic there. But as I said, right now we're going to be casting our beady little eyes on some missed opportunities that may have come out of Game Week 1, and I'm going to need a little bit of help with that. So I best introduce my podcast partner in crime, Seamus. How are you getting on, buddy?
Yeah, all good here. How are you keeping? How was your Game Week 1? Probably don't want to get into it too much, do we? Save that for the
main pod. This is just a teaser to whet the appetite of anyone that doesn't fancy listening through an hour and 20 minutes of us yammering on.
As you said, some missed opportunities. And was there one player in particular that inspired you to come up with the segment? You mentioned Willian. Was he the guy?
No, he was literally the whole reason this came to be. I'm sitting there Saturday afternoon watching the first game week, and I've been kind of trying to think about something to come up with for, you know, these shorter videos, because since we started putting this on YouTube, subscribe by the way if you're listening or watching to this, since we started throwing these out on YouTube, I've been, you know, looking for something maybe a little bit shorter, because our own podcasts tend to, you know, they hit the 60-minute mark pretty effing easily. Notice the lack of cussing in this as well. I don't know, I probably said fuck a million times before this one, but I'm trying to be a little bit more YouTube friendly with these short videos without affecting the main show. And yeah, no, William, once he banged in that second assist, I can't remember if that was before or after he hit the post with his free, now that I'm trying to think about it, but either way, I would imagine a lot of FPL managers were watching the match going, there's an 8 million option that I didn't really think about. And you know what, to be fair, like, there's some valid reasons why not to, but he did pick up 3 assists, only 2 bonus points, which kind of surprised me, but he came out of it with a double-digit 14-point haul, and yeah, I thought we should shoot the shit about some of these players, man. William, why isn't he in your team, Seamus?
He is somebody I definitely did strongly consider at one stage. I ended up putting Vardy in my team and going for a second premium striker alongside Werner. But at one stage, you know, that was just a junk 4.5 striker, and I had a playing spot in midfield, and I was going for a Kai Havertz, and I was like 8.5. He'll be the guy I end up moving on in a couple of weeks for Bruno, maybe after one game week. So I was like, maybe I can just take a 1 week punt on somebody who's around that. And I sorted by price, and I saw Willian at 8.0 was just underneath. I was like, you know what? He could be a really good option to go for that. But I have a blind spot with Arsenal. I just can't trust them. And it just feels like Aubameyang is the guy to go with. And we knew he wasn't going to be on penalties. Aubameyang's on those. So I was like, is he going to get like an assist or so? Maybe a shot from distance. Maybe he'll do something. I liked him more than Pepe, but I never actually put him in my team. I just considered him and went, no, pass. Let's see how he.
I think you mentioned Pepe there, and that's the main reason I, you know, didn't really consider him at all, and I'm still not considering him, to be honest. Is Pepe with a little bit of Saka on top, a little bit of an Arsenal right midfield sandwich that I'm worried might take up some of Willian, and it's not that it will take up some of Willian's game time as the season progresses. So I wasn't even sure if he'd start. For him to come on and get the 3 assists and absolutely dominate the game from an FPL perspective was a bit of a surprise, but it hasn't changed my thinking a lot, you know, in regards to him as a prospect. What about you, Seamus? Has this affected your thoughts? His 14 points.
Maybe. I mean, that's a lot of points. I don't think I'm going to get him in now. I think if he was something to start the season with, they do have one nice fixture left. It's West Ham at home this coming game week 2, but then their fixtures do toughen up. And yeah, I just think in the same price bracket, there are other players I'd rather be transferring over to, like the likes of Pulisic and Havertz and Ziyech when they come back for Chelsea. I think they probably have a lot more goals in their team.
So basically everyone that replaced Willian.
Yeah, well, we knew Ziyech. Well, we didn't know Ziyech, but we knew Havertz and Pulisic probably would be injured for this game. We knew Ziyech was definitely out, but People were happy to spend the extra million for Son.
I was.
Yeah, I would rather spend the extra million for Son over the course of the season. I think he'd prove to be better value. The thing with Willian is that he looked so comfortable in an Arsenal shirt on the first day of the season. I was like, it feels like this is his debut for Arsenal, and it feels like he's played with this team
Yeah.
for years. He just immediately looks good, and like looks like the shirt fits
He
him.
picked up
Everything
directly from where he
belongs in it.
left off at the end of preseason, like in terms of form and looking, pretty lethal on the pitch. It's like he literally just put on a different shirt. There we go. I'm the same man.
Yeah. The problem is, could he end up being a bit too well matched for Arsenal? Arsenal tend to have these, flaky kind of guys who just pick up the paycheck. Will he turn into Ozil? Ozil was good at the start. Will he turn into this kind of player? Will he turn into Pepe? I don't think so. I think he's quality, and I think he's class, and I think he'll pick up goals and assists throughout the season. As much points as last year without penalties, probably
Probably
not.
not. I like just before we move off of Willian, I agree 100% with what you're saying there. I did hear the odd argument about, oh look, maybe Willian can cover Aubameyang, or maybe he can take the place of Aubameyang for, I don't know, 4 million less. I don't think that's really a viable option. I think anyone that's thinking that is probably away with the fairies, if you ask me. I've looked at some of the stats now. I'm not the biggest stats guy, but from what I've seen, Auba had more touches in the final third, 26 to Williams 18, and Auba had twice as many passes received in the final third. Now, again, I don't know what that translates to, but it does show that Auba, who did score at the weekend, is still lethal and, in my opinion, worth the extra outlay, transfer wise.
Yeah, both midfielders,
Yeah.
I'd agree.
Someone who also went a little bit under the radar until his game week 1 exploits, scored in his debut. So another fantastic, performance from a debutant this week. It seemed to be all about them, and that's someone we're a little familiar with, a Callum Wilson. He had a cracking debut for Newcastle. He got off the mark, scored a goal, followed up by his fellow teammate Jeff Hendrick also scoring on his debut. So it was kind of a big test for Newcastle. I wouldn't say a big test for Newcastle this week, but it was a litmus test. A lot of managers had their eye on Newcastle. You see a lot of people with Maximin in their teams at 5.5. There's definitely a few Callum Wilsons floating around the place. So I think even those without Newcastle had an eye on it this week. It was a kind of a litmus test for their attacking capabilities. And Callum Wilson didn't disappoint. He got 1 goal, 2 bonus, an 8-point return, something we're all too familiar with in the FPL, especially harking back to his 2018-2019 season. But Seamus, are you more of a 2018-2019 Wilson or a 2019-2020 Wilson? There's a bunch of years for you.
Yeah, I'm in favor of this year's Wilson because I think he's with a team that are nowhere near as poor as Bournemouth were. Even though I thought Blackburn, Jesus, Newcastle were going to struggle. Sorry, the dementia's kicking in early tonight. I'm not even drinking. They're just a much better team. They're not that much better, okay, but their team has strengthened considerably this year, especially in an attacking sense. I think his introduction increased St. Maximum's appeal, but Fraser, as a player he's played with and can link up with, I think he'll get goals throughout the season. I think he's a good finisher and he'll get enough chances. The chances that fell to Joe Linton last year, he will finish. Only reason I didn't consider him, I did consider him. The only reason we didn't talk about him more is that he moved pretty late in the transfer window, and yeah, the price difference. He 6.5. He's really well priced. I thought he would come in at 7, maybe 7. Some people thought 7.5, but I think 6.5 is really good. I just couldn't stretch to him, for Mitrovic, and I was happy to stick with Mitrovic for a while because Mitrovic is on penalties, and I don't think Callum Wilson will be.
No, that's a good point, and I believe that's for me the biggest advantage of Wilson, especially if he's on a bit of form, is that you have somewhere to go from your Mitrovic's or your Shea Adams. 6 million strikers. Where the fuck do I go from here? I'm cursing a streak already. It's crazy. But like, you've got Bamford 5.5. He scored this week. His position is under threat from Rodrigo, who didn't get a start, but he will get starts. Whether he takes minutes off Bamford is a different story. But Wilson is pretty much nailed on, and Newcastle's fixtures aren't too bad. They have Brighton, Burnley, and Man United in the next 3 home matches. They've also got away matches against Spurs and Wolves. They're fine for a 6.5 striker, especially if we've seen Callum Wilson. He scored against a variety of Premier League teams. I'm not too worried about that, and I think just having a Newcastle having a striker that we've seen deliver in FPL is it's a strange one, but it's something I'm looking forward to for the rest of the season. Especially as an escape route.
Yeah, yeah. I think back to when they had Cisse and Andy Carroll. Those were the last time I remember them having goal scorers that used to score. Like Remy used to score with them for a while before he transferred to Chelsea. So yeah, I think there is goals there. I think he's definitely somebody I would like. He had it's a really good opening fixture for him on his debut because he's a really good record against West Ham. So he added to that again. And yeah, I think he'll pick up 12 to 15 goals this season. Thereabouts. Newcastle, not prolific, but we can see that he is good on the counter-attack team like he was the season before last, not the one just gone with Bournemouth. So he can definitely play in that system, and Newcastle do kind of tend to rely on that with St. Maximin's pace.
Yeah, 100%. And as you said, they're not prolific. Hopefully that's something that they kind of put to bed a little bit this year. They've signed, as you mentioned, Fraser. They have St. Maximin, so they've got attacking options this season that I'm hoping bait in a bit more as the season progresses. But our next candidate here in our missed opportunities is someone who has been around for yonks. We've been talking about him for years in FPL, and that's a Mr. Willy Zaha. He's seen a reclassification this year. He's moved back from forward to midfield from whence he came, and he's began his second stint as a FPL midfielder with a goal. No bonus, but similar to Wilson, 8-point return. Crystal Palace turning over Southampton 1-0 at the weekend. Do you now want some Zaha in your life, Seamus?
He's playing as a forward. Classed as a midfielder in the game. He's been playing up front as a forward in preseason. That's where he started in this game. I have to look at the game. I haven't seen the highlights of the Southampton game yet. I haven't got a chance just through work and other things to see, what his average position was yet and his shots. But by all accounts, he's playing that forward role, which suits him really well. The year he did really well in FPL was the year he played as a forward when classified as a midfielder, and you'll get the extra points. Crystal Palace will keep these clean sheets from time to time, gets an extra point per goal, and when they do get the odd clean sheets as well, he'll get points for that too. So yeah, he does excite me if he will continue to play in that position, which I think he will, with Eze kind of possible to play behind him or on the left. So yeah, let's see. Definitely want to keep an eye on
100%. The only thing, for me with Zaha at the moment is, there's obviously it's not a summer transfer window if there isn't Zaha wanting to leave. Hodgson has referenced it in numerous post-match interviews still, and so I'm not touching him until, the window is over, the transfer window is over, and that's not till mid-October. But for those a little bit more, braver than myself, Crystal Palace have some pretty decent fixtures. They have a tough one this week against Man United, but then they're coming up against Everton, Chelsea, Brighton, Fulham. It's not the worst. It's also not the greatest. But I think for a 7 million midfielder, yeah, for people looking to make that little bit of cash to get in a premium, someone that needs to make a mill, he's all right by my book, Seamus.
Yeah, definitely. Good point about the transfer window. You probably want to wait and see. Yeah, Roy is talking about, or Roy, if you want to call him that, is talking about these fictional teams that are looking to buy him. He's yeah, you're kind of
writing for the Daily Mail.
With them. If I'm calling De Bruyne Kev, then I gotta call.
But
Roy
you wouldn't
Roy.
call Roy
I feel like that's what
to his face. Or maybe you would.
Good points. Good points. I don't know. Yeah, probably that's a more of a behind the back thing. I don't know. Is that a term of endearment? We're getting bogged down in details now. But I don't think any team has been in for him that I can hear of. I don't know which teams would be looking for him. Surely he wants to go to a better team, so like a top 6 team or someone who just stated he wants to play Champions League football. I don't know what team he would go to. So wait till the window maybe. Their fixtures are good, like you say, but there will be times in the season I'll be looking at him because in that price range, in the 6.5 to 7 million bracket, He's
Yeah,
pretty good.
he is. He is. And there's plenty of honourable mentions out there. We've chatted a bit off air. The likes of Castagna for Leicester. He had a fantastic debut. Gabriel. It was pretty much like a game week one, you know, debutant goal fest in regards to up and comers or new players in the league. So we could have made this video in like a half an hour, but we said we'd focus on three players I think stood out. Is there any players you do want to give an honorable mention to, Seamus, before I wrap this
Yeah,
up?
I was just going to give an honorable mention to Reece James, who tonight has got a goal and an assist. And I'm just going to refresh it because that game was on while we started recording this. Looks like it's finished 3-1. Goal and assist for Reece James. No clean sheet, but what has he got so far? 11 points. Probably getting the 3 bonus. Going to end up with 14. So there's some high scoring defenders there. Can't say I was looking at that new Marsala guy for Wolves, but Saiss was definitely somebody I was looking at that we kind of overlooked a small bit. We knew Vinagre was a bit of a doubt. He didn't play this evening, so maybe we should have discussed him more. I wish I just punted on him now and just got him in. Now I've got to get rid of Vinagre, probably for Saiss, but there's no point doing it this week against Man
Yeah.
City. I'll make another move and do him and get him in and maybe game week
Yes,
4.
I do. I think Wolves' defence will be highly sought after. They did start off the season with a nice clean sheet against Sheffield. But we will wrap it up there, folks. That has been.
Should we give one honorable mention? I hate interrupting you. I know you're looking to wrap it up, but James
Oh,
Rodriguez
you know what?
hasn't
We
been
could have given the
mentioned.
whole
I
Everton.
know you would kill me if you
Yes.
didn't mention it. Yeah.
No,
So
I'm glad you got in there, Seamus, because we did speak about him. I just didn't prep the bloody slides, and that must be why it got away from me. But yeah, the whole Everton team, really. But I do want to highlight James Rodriguez. I thought he showed a different class than I was expecting. I wasn't sure. I mean, last time I watched Rodriguez was that World Cup that he had that basically got him his transfer to Madrid. That was kind of the last I'd seen of him. So I was pretty excited to see him kind of coming into the league, but ignorant nonetheless. And yeah, he answered a lot of questions for me. I thought he raised the bar for Everton attacking wise. He looked, I don't know, something akin, contextually speaking, to a Fernandez. But Seamus, you've obviously got your eye on him. If you're interrupting my outro.
yeah, I mean, I was kind of like yourself. Like, let's see how good this guy really is. And he had a tough opening game week 1 fixture against Spurs. Well, I guess maybe that's debatable, but a
2 years
team that
ago,
are
it would have
top
been a
6
tough
finish
fixture.
last
Yeah.
season. Yeah, but they've got a top 6 finish. They Champions League final, what, 15 months ago. So yeah, arguably, that's not an easy fixture, and he settled in really well. They could give him the ball. He didn't panic on it. He looked comfortable, looked like he had time, space. His range of passing was good, linked up really well. And again, that was only kind of half watching the match on my Sky Go app on my phone. So if I kind of watched that game in more detail later on, and I think one game is a bit early, but if you were looking at him, I think you've kind of got the green light to go ahead with Everton, considering they've got nice
Yeah,
fixtures.
I agree. West Brom, Crystal Palace, and Brighton in the next 3. There will be a lot of Everton love coming, and I hope they keep that level of performance up that they did against Spurs. It was 1-0, not a massive amount of FPL returns to talk of, but just that attacking performance and how much they rip Spurs to shreds at times was definitely
Yeah.
something to watch going forward.
You're right. Not a missed opportunity from the point of view of points missed, but somebody we overlooked.
Definitely.
Definitely in
Keep an
preseason.
eye on them, folks. So let's go. Second time at this. Thank you for listening to the FPL Hangover podcast, pint-sized edition. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe. You can also reach out to us on Twitter at FPL Hangover, and you can reach out to my man Seamus at FPL Drunk. Thanks again, folks, and enjoy the rest of your game week.